Candy Moloi, best known for her role as Vho-Makhadzi on the SABC2 soapie Muvhango, died in a Pretoria hospital earlier this week after a long battle with cancer. She was 67 years old. In an intimate ceremony held under strict protocols due to the COVID-19 pandemic, friends and family paid tribute to the actress on Thursday. A second memorial service was also scheduled in her hometown of Thohoyandou in Limpopo ahead of her funeral today. Tributes have since poured in on social media, with many of her former castmates remembering her as a formidable performer. Actress Florence Masebe paid homage to her.
You had the privilege of journeying with Mom Candy Moloi. You also had the privilege of, not only having her work influence you personally, but watching her, evolve as a woman, as a mother, as a career-driven artist as well. I mean, what are some of the fondest memories that you have of her life and times, as we obviously going to be paying homage to her at her funeral, which is set in Thohoyandou and Limpopo?
Oh, I think my fondest memories will be of her in her kitchen, because that's where the congregation would happen, If Sesimukondi called and said, "I'm cooking," you didn't say, "I'm still seeing so-and-so." You came up with an excuse for the other person, because you are going to have the most beautiful traditional food. And she didn't just make you pap and meat. She would make you pap and meat, and then pumpkin pap, and then a bean dish, and then chizimba, majuru. She would make you all the creepy crawlies out of Limpopo, everything that says home. So if you wanted to feel like you're in home, you're in Limpopo, here in Gauteng, you would go to Sesimukondi and feel like you're back in Venda.
And just looking at her background, where she's come from, and obviously the cultural influences that has influenced her life and her work, how would you say that has been incorporated into both, how has she translated that from her personal capacity into her career as an artist, just watching her evolve over the years?
I think, the greatest thing with her is that she comes from a really interesting background with broadcasting, not just as an actor. So her father had been the first voice on the then Radio Bantu to present in Chivenda and Xitsonga. And then later, she became a broadcaster on the same service, what is now Para FM, when it was still Radio Venda. And then she also took the opportunity to put together the first magazine show on television for Chivenda and Xitsonga, called Swahombe Zwantesa, back in the 90s. And it was a really powerful move. She was just this person that is not satisfied with the way things are, but she's not going to complain. She's going to look at, how do I contribute to make it better? And she did. Be it as an actor, be it as a producer, be it as a in the advertising world, where many people don't know she was quite a powerhouse there. The greatest recordings you could go to if you booked as a voice artist would be under Candy Moloi Productions. And you knew she was no nonsense. She was all about language purity. She was all about languages being preserved and kept at the right standard. She didn't want you diluting the way you speak Chivenda. If you were Mosotho, she didn't want you diluting the way you speak Sesotho. And the fact that she was multilingual, so she understood all these languages and could produce in any of the official languages in the country. She was quite amazing.
And obviously, as you mentioned, she's influenced a lot of people along the way, including yourself. Journeying so closely with her, over the years, what are some of those gems you garnered from her along your journey as an actress, and also just playing a larger, more impactful role in the industry in South Africa?
I think as a big sister,
Okay.
She was that person who would show up and see that you're a little bit down. And then she would have time to talk about what is wrong. And she would listen. And then she would keep quiet. And then 2-3 days later, she won't necessarily be in front of me. She will pick up the phone early in the morning and says, "How are you? Have you taken a shower? Are you putting on makeup? Are you on your way out to treat yourself?" And that was always her. She wanted to show that it's important, no matter how down you feel. And that I always keep. She'd say, "Take care of yourself. Do not look like your troubles." It was a big thing with her. Don't you dare look like your troubles today. Even if you're not leaving the house, stay in the house, but don't look like your troubles. And that is one of the most important things ever. I kept it for a very long time. And she knew whenever I was a little bit low, she would call and I'd say, "Yes, Sis Mukundi, I know. I'm putting on makeup."
Okay. And I'm looking at who might have inspired her along the journey. I mean, who are some of the people she drew influences from?
You know, she had to carve the way for herself a lot, by the way. And her father had been a very big influence because he was a renowned broadcaster and artist in his own right. And I think, you know, the late Mom Violet as well, her mother, one of the most beautiful women I knew growing up. I think she would have gotten a lot of influence from there. But, you know, the rest of us looked at her as the light. And she was the pillar for so many of us. We just knew if she touches it, it works. She could do that. She could do that for herself as an artist. She could do that as a businesswoman and get herself very, very far. And yeah, so I think the trailblazing comes from how her father was a great trailblazer himself.
Ultimately, what do you think her legacy will encompass?
Ooh, I think her legacy is going to encompass a lot. She wasn't seen enough as a cultural activist by those who didn't know her close. But she really did her bit for a very long time to make sure that Tshivenda as a culture is out there and respected. She was that woman, I can tell you quickly. We would go to church with her.
Yes.
In Joburg. And this was, you know, you're in church in the suburbs, you're in Kelvin. Everything is in English here, says Candy. And we get in and we would start, they would do the liturgy in English and it was just not happening for her. She would respond in the liturgy in Tshivenda. Then the hymns would start and she would sing them in Tshivenda and she'd say, "Don't you dare sing them in English." And, you know, the Lord's Prayer would start and we must be loud. We might be the only two Venda voices in the church, but God must know we're here, you know. She really, really showed up as herself. And it's the one thing that I've learned from her a lot. Show up as yourself first. People will love you. People will accept you for anything. People will find you interesting, but don't make the mistake of showing up as somebody else and then they won't know you are you. She was always very strict with that.
I'm just looking at the fact, the context we find ourselves in South Africa. It's Women's Month. I mean, we've also looked at the industry and we've also lost a few other, you know, notables, including Mary Twala, you know, just to also name her, but not to overshadow Candy Molloi's influence in the industry. I mean, what do you think are some of the lessons that we can garner as women in the industry, as women in South Africa, that we could learn from Candy Moloi and the late Mary Twala, perhaps during these unprecedented times, as COVID, you know, obviously exacerbates the situation for the inequalities that are rife in society and continue to affect women more so?
Do you know what I love about both Mary and Sis Mukundi is that they defined for me what a woman that stands alone for herself in the arts can be. With Mam Mary, I've always said, I was always in awe of the way in which she remained Mam Mary with Mam Mary's light. She wasn't her husband's widow, and she wasn't her son's mother. She was just artist Mary Twala, and you could put great next to that name. She did it very well. Mukondi Ramanenyiwa was that woman. I mean, she worked, when I was still at university, I remember I used to say, oh no, when I'd see big campaigns on television and in radio, and she was at Ogilvy and Mather at the time, and I would be in awe knowing that somebody that I know from my background does that. And then when she left that formality of employment to start her own production company, it was the first time anybody close to me was taking such a giant step. And I saw her build and I saw her grow. Whatever Candy leaves behind today is not something that she just woke up and had. That woman knew how to work and work really hard. And I'm fortunate to have worked really closely with her, not only on television, but even on the radio production side, where she did a lot of her advertising work. And, you know, and know her at home, where, yeah, she was just an amazing human being.
What are you going to miss the most in conclusion about her life, just physically being here? I mean, obviously she's transcended. She's not lost. She's just in another form. But for us who are remain behind, what are you going to miss the most?
I'm going to miss her laugh. Sesmo Kondi could phone you and you say hello and she says your name and then she starts laughing and you can't hang up. And she laughs so hard. You start joining her. You don't even know why she's laughing yet. By the time she tells you the story, you're also on the floor. But she could laugh until tears were streaming down her cheeks. She had that laugh. Knowing I will never hear it again is not a nice thing. That I'm going to miss. Because in that laugh was also her love.
Well, her memories, her experiences, and everything that she's done to impact you will live on through you as you take on that baton. But Florence, thank you for sharing your story with us and just echoing some of your fondest memories with her. Of course, she's going to be missed, but she lives in our hearts forever and a day. Thank you.
Thank you.